All right. And we're live. Dallin Pepper. What is up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, but you know what? We've known each other for quite a while, bro.
A long time.
It's been a long time. I don't even remember exactly when we met. Was it 2017?
Yeah, right after you guys won, and then that was my first year.
That's right. Right after we run and right after you just went on a Chicago Bulls,
It
back to back to back in the team division out there running shit, putting everybody on notice.
was a good time back in the day.
It was a great time, man. One of the things I want to jump into, man, you're a young buck. I forget exactly what I called you the other day. I was like, "Yo, I'm about to get Dallin Pepper on the show," and I said, "Young Blood." I was like, "Yeah, Dallin Pepper, the Young Blood." I was like, "Yeah, that's his new title. It's coming from me. It's coming. The Young Blood is
There
coming to
we
the
go.
scene." But there was always something unique that I noticed about you, Dallin, from the moment that we met. And I tell people because I met you around the same time that I also met Haley Adams. And you guys shared this similar mentality and mindset where you were young, you were hungry, but what seemed to set you apart was your focus. And from the time, I mean, I think you were probably 16 years old, right?
hmm
Was it 15,
Yeah,
16?
15,
Um,
16.
yeah, and it was like there was a maturity there. And so the first thing I want to jump into of this interview, man, is like where do you think that started and where did that come from for you?
Yeah, since I can remember, my parents have always called me an old man, like an old soul. When we go to family stuff, I'd be want to hang out with my dad, like some of the older cousins, all of that. Um, I've always been like pretty calm and reserved. I was really analytical in my approach to decisions, all that stuff. So really, since I can remember, I've always been that way.
I love that. Do you think that's a trait that you picked up strictly from mom or dad or anyone in your family, or was it just kind of how you came out the womb?
It's got to be like a combination of how I was raised because my one of my younger sisters is very similar. Like she's reading mindset books. She's in like sixth grade, seventh grade this year,
I
reading
love it.
mindset books. She's reading my mom's nutrition coaching books, and just like very on top of it, self motivated, just doing her own thing. So it's got to be something that my parents are doing. So
I love it, man. I think that's cool. And it's great that you kind of throw the ode their way. The reason I'm selfishly asking is because, I got kids, Dan's got kids. We're taking notes. We're like, hey, okay, so Dallin's focused. He's disciplined. He's a good kid, stays out of trouble. What do I need to do? I'm going to just connect with your dad again. It's been too long since I've talked to him, anyways. So I'm just going to
yeah,
take some notes from him, probably, see what's up there. But man, you're coming off of a wonderful year, as I would say is really almost one of your come out opportunities because 2020 was a weird year, right?
Mhm.
We know that, but that was your first opportunity to compete in the open division. Then we roll into 2021 where you've had now some time to really mature as an athlete, strength and weaknesses, prepare yourself to throw down with the big dogs. And you found yourself out there on the floor this time last year at the West Coast Classic. Talk to me about that experience.
Yeah, so the number one thing I took away from that is how fast everything is. The best comparison from what I've heard is like stepping onto a college football field or an NFL football field where everyone is fast. It's not just that you don't have the DBs that are fast, that type of thing. Everyone is fast and everyone is good at everything. And so going from when I was a teenager, I mean, I didn't need to do the last event all 3 years that I won. Like I dominated. It was great. I could see the floor. I could control the floor, and that's something I could not do at West Coast. It was the first time I stepped on the floor as an individual, and so really taking away from that, that's some of the changes I've noticed since stepping on the floor at Wadapalooza. Yeah, everything was really fast. Yeah, that was the biggest takeaway, I think.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a great lesson, right? And I think we've all been there at some point. It's almost kind of like a deer in headlights experience where you feel physically prepared, but mentally, from an adjustment standpoint, it's just you're just not as present as you want to be because you almost find yourself watching others, right? Or
Yes.
like you're
Yeah.
like, whoa, I didn't expect this dude to be that far ahead of me, or well, how are there three
hmm
people already there, right? And then
hmm
you're having a completely different conversation in your mind than the one you should probably be having because you need to be
Yeah.
focused on the work, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I've always been able to like see what other people are doing, like know what race I'm in, that type of thing. And I think that's an important thing. But again, like you have to focus on what you're doing and just like the blur of everyone being in the race. I think that kind of got to me at some moments. But yeah, it's a good. And another thing you said was like not knowing where you're at. Like I had no idea. because the first time I competed, I think everyone kind of goes into that into a competition like, where am I at? Where am I at? Kind of thing. Um, and as I grow as an athlete, I expect that to be less and less. But
I love it. How do you build expectations right now, man? Like from where you're at, transitioning dominance in the teen division, coming off of a couple years of you, which you understood was going to be a building process to get you the opportunities that you want. How did you structure last year's expectations? How do you structure this year's expectations?
last year, I fully expected to qualify. I mean, that's what I'm here to do. It's what I'm training to do. Just had a couple holes I needed to fill, and I knew they were there, and I just needed more time. Like I just needed to grow as an athlete, as a person, to continue to do that. And based off of last season, I took sixth. I was right there. Uh, we attacked weaknesses head on. Like I didn't do any strength work for like 8 months or whatever. I didn't need to. And now we're to the point where I've started doing more strength work again. Um, but we've just taken the approach of head on with the weaknesses, and I know I filled them based on like retesting and numbers and all the things that my coaches and I look at, and we know that we're in a spot we can qualify and make a run at the games and do well at the games.
I love that. I think that's extremely important to understand. And from just, to tune in the audience, right? It's one thing to really pursue a well-rounded base of fitness, which of course, Dallin, you've got, but you've exhibited that. But to really then fine tooth pick out what your weaknesses are and be able to dive in them headlong. I actually, even at this stage in 2022, when CrossFit has been very darn competitive really since like 2011. So we're 11 or 12 years into this process. I still see athletes out there in the space, man. And this is a shout out to Matt Torres, who I know is your coach and overseeing this process. But there's still athletes out in the space that think they can still train to develop themselves in a well-rounded way when there's this glaring weakness that we all see. We see it in their testing and they don't attack it headlong. So tell me what that process has been like for you over the last 8 months when you're eating your humble pie, only doing what you suck at.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear based on West Coast Classic. I feel confident with the sandbag, but I couldn't move a D ball. Basically slept with that thing.
Love it.
We're ready for a D ball. Two, strict handstand push-ups and running, and like longer conditioning pieces. Didn't go a single day without doing a 40 to 60-minute EMOM for 8 months or whatever that was that Matt had me doing. Handstand push-ups, we're doing 3 days a week with handstand push-up strength and endurance emphasis, with all sorts of movements. Yeah, I don't feel too. Not too afraid to put that out there because it was very clear from last year. So, but yeah, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of our sport, right? No matter what you put out there, no one can stop you, right? Only you can stop you. The test can potentially present a bit of a challenge, but it's going to come down to you and your preparation over time. So no matter what you share, I think there's certainly some safety there. So when we watch you take the floor and you got triceps for days now, and the back of your arm looks like it's pulsating out of your shirt if you got one on. Well, know why? It's because you've been dialing in the overhead games, which we know is what the test is often like. Did that challenge you mentally, that process for 8 months to be grinding at something where you're like, this isn't the best thing for me in regards to testing? So was that a challenge?
I mean, I think I just getting absorbed in the process of it, and like if it ever got challenging, I just thought back to not hearing my name being called for that fifth place spot. Like I can put myself on that floor anytime I need to, and just it wasn't my name. So.
I appreciate you sharing that, and I think it's a powerful, powerful thing. I've been on both ends, man. I've been on that floor and not heard my name called in a year in 2016 where I thought I potentially would. So we were out there waiting, and it was like waiting for the names, didn't happen. Broke my heart. I've been out there years where they did call my name, right? And it was a very different feeling. And so I appreciate the fact that you give that moment power, and I think it will continue to motivate you even for years to come, no matter what happens this year. It'll always be that stark reminder of what it feels like to not be quite enough for the moment, right? Or to be where you wanted to be. I love that. I mentioned Matt Torres. Most of the public is going to know that he's your coach. I got to work with Matt for several years within our brute strength team. Loved my time with those guys. I love what he's done over time. How long have you been with Matt, and how did that relationship begin?
Yeah, so I started with Matt February 2018. So this is season 5 with him, 4 years. It's 5th season. the way I actually got connected with Matt is because of you. You guys, we had a brute strength camp out in Salt Lake City. I shot you a message. I was like, hey, can I come up there? At the time, my coach was the owner of the gym.
Yep.
Fell in love with what all you guys are doing, and talked to Matt Bruce. I was like, hey, how do I become a part of this? I knew as soon as that camp was over, I needed to be involved with you guys as coaches and people. And then from then on, I've been with Matt. It was a pretty cool experience, just as a 16-year-old driving up there, kind of like on my own as a kid in this camp with a lot of adults.
A lot of adults.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience, and that definitely changed me as a person and an athlete.
I appreciate you sharing that, man, and I remember that very vividly myself, dude. And the group that we had there was very dynamic and very diverse, right? We had literally some of the fittest people in the world. On one hand, we had some of the people that were just kind of getting familiar with our program in a similar way that you were, first timers. So it was super diverse, and I can share a lot like your parents labeled you an old soul, an old man.
Mm-hmm.
You fit right in, even as a young buck. So I think that that's something that we all kind of saw in you, particularly from a potential standpoint. There was this baseline of maturity and understanding, and I think that's one reason that I have some amazing expectations for you as an athlete in the sport. We had the opportunity to sit down with someone that's had a great career in Pat Vellner just the other day, and we talked about self-awareness and how important that is in the sport, and when you have that long game vision and you've got the ability to kind of slow things down from a mature standpoint, it helps with self-awareness. You've just alluded to the fact that you spent 8 months grinding on things that you're not great at, right? Because you need to bring them up. At what point in this process did Matt have you switch back over and it's like, okay, now it's go mode. Now we put it all back together for the 2022 season?
Honestly, so we had at the start of the season, that's when we started getting a little more strength training. And then I had my ankle injury at Wadapalooza. That set us back a little bit on some of the strength work. So we just continued grinding on the stuff we could through quarterfinals. And then after quarterfinals, that's been my first like real strength cycle. And I've hit like 5-6 PRs since then. So strength there. Just have to touch up on it a little bit. So.
Strength's there, and I will say there's a beauty in taking a break from it, just like you did. There's a trust there that has to be established, and a lot of athletes are way too insecure in their training to step back away from something that way. But for you to do that and then feel completely fresh, and mentally you're like, oh, give me that barbell, I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But to be able to do that then physically and to watch the PRs come back, it seems it's very logical if you've been around the sport for a while and you have the ability to apply that with your athletes. You mentioned Wadapalooza, dude. Let's go there for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get on the Wadapalooza floor after coming off of the West Coast Classic. The speed was too much. You felt like, oh, man, I just wasn't quite there yet. It needed that experience. And then you step onto the floor in Miami. What was that like? How do you describe that experience? And did it change for you at that point?
That's when I knew things were a little bit different and stuff was working. Very vividly, the Echo on Fran workout stands out. To me, just being able to see the floor, like things slowed down, even though the workout was 4 or 5 minutes, whatever it was. Everyone else was moving in slow motion almost. And obviously that's a great workout for me. So I'm going to do well in that, but to be able to see who I'm racing, who's out of that race, that type of thing, knowing where my competitors are, but also knowing how my body feels, where I can push, that type of thing. And then the other thing that really stood out from Wadapalooza was my ankle was destroyed. Like, it was not good. I could not walk down the stairs, couldn't walk up the stairs, couldn't do an air squat. And so, like, just showing exactly, like, how gritty I can get and how bad I want to win, no matter the situation. That was a big takeaway. So.
Dude, I remember having the opportunity to review every day, right? Like, I was on the Games podcast with Chase Ingram, and we had an opportunity, of course, to be covering it. You were one of my picks to get on the podium. A lot of the other guys don't have the insight that I do in regards to you. I got to see you come up, and so I know some things, and I know about your psychology and your mentality. But when I saw you roll your ankle, I was like, oh, man, that's a bummer. He's going to have to withdraw. And then you kept going, and I was like, uh-oh. That's trouble for everybody else, because I knew what kind of learning experience that would provide for you, and I'm pumped to hear that was a confidence builder. So that's awesome. And you go on, you grind through, you finish, and all of a sudden, Florida's your home now, man. Like What brought about the move, and why'd you do it?
Um, so last season, around the Open quarterfinals, uh, I remember like writing in my workout logbook, journal, whatever it was. Like I just wanted something a little bit more. Like I wanted to be surrounded with people who were fully committed to the same vision I was, and that's not saying the people around me weren't. Like I wanted eyes on as a coach, that type of thing. Um, and it was really weird. All in the same week, like Emma and I, or no, I texted Matt and I was like, "Hey, what are the chances like moving to Florida or something?" Just completely random. He's like, Emma and I just talked yesterday. Let's make it happen." Like we all decided on this thing the same week, and since April of last year, uh, probably May of last year, we're like, "Okay, we're moving there in January," and we just made it happen. And then the move was crazy because we moved here. We got moved into the apartment the week before Wadapalooza, so that was wild too.
Crazy timing. So now you find yourself you're with your coach, and what other athletes are down there with you that made the transition?
Phil Toon came down here, James Sprague, and Emma Carey. And then we also have Coach Dom, who's down in Naples as well. So,
How has that then changed? Let's look back a year ago. You preparing for the Open, you grinding, training for the most part alone, of course, maybe surrounded by some friends or some family, whomever's hopping in, grinding with you. How has the atmosphere to be now in this? I mean, listen, you're in one of the what we will consider the apex gyms now across the country where people are solely focused on human dominance and getting to the CrossFit Games. How's that changed things for you?
honestly, I'm having more fun. I'm like just happier doing it, happier to be in the gym. We don't do anything that's the same. Maybe once a week we will hit the same workout.
Sure.
So my training hasn't changed other than like my main session. I've always got eyes on me. So the intent is through the roof compared to what it was, just because I have that constant accountability from training partners and coaches. But yeah, I'm just enjoying it 10 times more. And I was already having a good time. So.
And I think that strategically is something that's really important. What you mentioned, a lot of people might not understand this, Dallin, but for you listeners, it's like when we're working with elite level competitors, hardly and rarely are they able to engage and do the same type of training because they need specific things based on their own limitations. And just like you alluded to earlier in our interview, Dallin, where you spent a large chunk of last year focused on running, handstand push-ups, and of course becoming best buddies with the D-ball. Emma had something completely different to focus on, right? James had
Yes.
something completely different to focus on. And so that's kind of what you meant when you said, hey, we didn't even do the same things together other than maybe one throwdown a week or something to
Hmm.
really get a good push, right? Or to get those competitive juices flowing. I'd imagine though that as you guys prepare for competition like the Open, that had to really be an advantage for you in regards to chasing intensity. Was that a big change?
Yeah. Yeah. So like we did the open workouts head to head at least against one other person. And there's two pros. Like obviously we're gonna have one of the best athletes in the world to go head to head against. And second, we know we got a good time in quarterfinals and open as soon as we're done because we got four other people doing it that are the best in the game. So it takes a lot of pressure off, and that's kind of a cool team atmosphere, even though we're all individuals.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I remember of Chase coming up to me and be like, "Hey, this is what Dallin said," or Dallin and those guys are running this, and I was like, "Man, okay, awesome, wow, that's great." So there's such power in being able to have that communication with your peers right there on site, watch them execute, learn from their repetitions. Because even as an athlete, for me, my whole entire life with football, with CrossFit, it didn't matter. Some of the greatest lessons that I learned had nothing to do with my performances. It was like watching someone else potentially
Yeah.
make a mistake that then I didn't have to make because
Yeah.
of that. It's those what I call ghost reps, where you're not participating, but you're learning everything that you can from just being a student of the game. And you get a chance to really be a student there all the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, so we especially with quarterfinals, we strategically organized the heats. We also had Fisa Gaffi down here, who brings a totally different game than all of us. So we strategically placed who would go first. Like James and I went first on the shuttle run workout, and I wanted to go with James because I know James is going to do well, and I know I can hold my own. And then Phil wanted to watch that, and then same with all the other workouts. We wanted certain people to go first so we could all learn and take from their mistakes or what they did well.
I love it. Again, huge advantage when it comes to competing. Everybody there that I've witnessed seems to have really stepped up their game for this season 2022. Rolling into the Open, man, what expectations did you have? Because I'm going to just go ahead and say top 10 in the world. That's not too shabby, bro.
That was pretty cool, right?
That was amazing. So
You
tell me,
know,
was that your mindset? Was that like, hey, this is a goal for me? This is where I want to be? How'd it play out?
did the workout one time, rolled into the gym, we warmed up. We did do it as our first piece on Friday, not like a second session type of thing. So obviously we took it seriously and gave it our best effort, but there was no redos. It was hit it hard and then move on to the next piece of training. And after the first week, we had four of us in the top 10 or three of us in the top 10, including Emma, James, Phil, and myself. And then just kept the ball rolling and just kept doing workouts. And then in the end, that's not really what matters. So we moved on, went to quarterfinals.
Absolutely. And I know that as an athlete, you're always thinking on to the next, because that is what matters, is the next stage, because you're looking to punch your ticket to the big show. But did that do something for you momentum wise going into this season?
Yeah, coming off a Wodapalooza as well, like that combination. And I mean, top 10 in the Open's cool no matter what. Like that's a really cool thing to do. So going into quarterfinals, like being able to improve my Open placement and quarterfinals placement, like just keep the ball rolling. I think momentum is a huge thing, whether it's like through the whole season or just like a week or a day even. So yeah, it was big.
Yeah, it's certainly extremely real, knowing how momentum plays into a situation, and of course, building confidence for you as a young competitor in the Open division, I think is really important, because now we get an opportunity to gear up for the most exciting part of the season, which is semifinals. We're going to get to watch a few go down this weekend. What are your thoughts on anything that's out there already, like the programming that you've seen? I know you got to be pumped to throw down yourself, but what do you think's going to go down this weekend? What workouts are you excited about?
Well, I'm really excited to watch the complex and the legless rope climb workout,
Of
knowing that
course.
I will be doing that. So that's always nice to see some people tackle it, and then you can obviously, like we talked about, learn from their mistakes and hopefully perform better.
Yeah, let me
Uh,
stop you there. What are your thoughts on those two pieces that we know everybody's going to touch? What do you think?
I think the complex is cool. I prefer that. I mean, I prefer that over a true one rep max in this case scenario and where I'm at. Uh, I think the rope climb test needs to be a little harder. I think everyone's going to be within like 45 seconds or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then in the end, like I'm an athlete and I'm going to do the test. I'm going to perform my best and not leave it up to a mistake, because of that. That's an execution workout now. It's no longer necessarily a legless rope climb capacity test. It's an execution workout, and that's still part of the game.
Yeah, I love that perspective that you got, man, and that again makes me want to put out a shout out to everybody else that Dallin Pepper is going to be at your throat, just because of that perspective alone. We're all going to have grumblings with some type of program issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's about understanding, that hey, we're all going to line up, we're all going to take this test. We might as well run our mouths a lot less about it, and let's
Yeah.
just get to the competing side of things. And you're right when you say this event could be decided by seconds. For the last heat, 8 seconds could go by and we got 10 people running through the line, right?
Yeah,
That could
absolutely.
literally be the case. So from a commentating and spectating perspective, I love it. I'm excited about
Exciting.
it. Can't wait. But you hit the nail on the head when you talked about execution, and that's it though. Right. When we think about real sports, and I don't mean to ever demean the sport that I got to come up in as an adult. You're literally growing up in the sport like your life. But to compare it to real sports, the NBA, the NFL, the PGA, right? Everybody, when they take the field, when they take the court, they're at the same level. There's a mentality and an execution that then separates the greatness. And with these
Mm-hmm.
types of events, that really is an opportunity for us. And I think as we continue to evolve in the sport, every workout shouldn't be that way. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But there's a few that are going to come up, and I think we'll really get to see some opportunity for guys that can seize the moment, because that's a unique skill that I say the tip of the spear, the spear are the ones that do the best.
Yes, I would agree. And one other thing on the programming thing, if you're an athlete not training for anything, like you should get a test and be like, great, I'm ready. Like that should be your mindset. And if I know people are complaining about different stimuluses, all that stuff, but like just show up and do the work. Like
Yep.
if you're trying
Yep.
to be the best, you shouldn't have an issue with any of it.
That's it, man. That's it, man. Let the gossip to the gossipers. You know what I mean? You show up and do the work, and then no matter what the test is, you'll come out on top if you've been preparing the right way.
Yeah.
But that takes me to the next transition. We do have a lot of workouts that we do know from some of these semifinals this weekend. I know you got some close friends of yours that are going to be throwing down. What workouts do you see that excite you? Is there any that you're like, ooh, I'd like to try that, or hopefully we get that in mind?
I'm glad I'm not doing the Jackie workout. Stoked to watch it. That's gonna be awesome. Like James and Phil both tested that one, and just like to end 3.5 minutes on the rower
That's it, man.
after that
Yep.
workout. That's disgusting.
That was cruel and unusual punishment right there.
Yeah.
To open and end on the rower, sick.
Yes. The Oregon Trail style event also with the bike and the dumbbells and the tank. That'll be a fun one.
That's
The
going to be fast,
Torian.
man. Pause real quick. Let me ask your
Yeah.
opinion there. So, these guys are going to take the floor in this workout. A lot of people are like, hey, cool, 30, 20, 10 on the Echo. I'm going to go these watts. This is going to be my pace. We know not a lot of separation is going to happen on the tank because you just kind of do it.
Yep.
But it fatigues you a little bit. So you're going to have to cycle the dumbbells quickly. But are you thinking, are guys going to have to get on there and surge that Echo bike, or are they just going to kind of have a steady pace out the gate?
If you want to win, you got to go on the bike.
Come on, let's
Not,
go. That's what I
not
like to hear.
not enough reps on the dumbbells for it to like the dumbbells are going to hurt and make a difference if you can't cycle them.
Yep.
But if you want to win the workout, you got to go.
You got to go, baby. That's what I like to hear. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Somebody's going to go fast and take chances. And then there's going to be some people that hear this, or some people that think they're going to surge the bike, and then they're going to get crippled by the stimulus workout.
Absolutely. You got to ride that line. Like you're either going to blow up or you're going to ride it out.
Yeah.
The Torian event 1. What is it? King Arthur.
Yeah, the chipper. That's like an ode to the chipper. Do you remember in 2012? This is a throwback, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's an ode to that chipper where it was only like 10 reps of each. But now they got 15 reps and they got the 1,500-meter run dead smack in the middle of this thing. I was like, ooh, spicy.
That one, we all did that one, or me and Phil did that one. What a workout!
You like it? So let me ask you, if that let's fast forward. Let's say that was it. That was at your semifinal. Is that one that you'd be like, oh yeah, here we go. I'm about to make a mark on this one. This is a good workout for me.
Yeah, I think any workout's a good workout for me.
I love it.
Yeah, lots of barbell cycling. I'm ready for that runner.
Yep.
We got the runner at the MAC.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nasty though. It'll test you mentally for sure.
Yeah, yeah. What have you seen so far, even from the MAC, in regards to? Do we know all the programming there?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have all the workouts?
Yes.
Dan, you want to pull up the Mid Atlantic programming? I haven't taken a huge look at that. Of course, I've been looking at these 3 that are going down.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's on day 1 for you guys?
So we have the lift first, and then we go into the workout's called Midline Sadness, and it's a descending ladder of GHD sit-ups, handstand walking, and overhead squats. The weight goes up on the overhead squat, distance increases on the handstand walk. And if you get a chance, check out the flow on this workout because it's sick. Like you're going straight down the field. Every time you move the bar, then you're handstand walking all the way back to the GHD. And you're moving the bar like 30 feet at a time, so that plays a role into it. It's a cool workout.
They thought that through. I like that. I like that storytelling ability, one from the commentator's perspective, because that helps us in the booth. But man, that's going to be beautiful with the audience being able to see all that. That's really cool. So that's event 1, Midline Sadness.
That's event 2. Sorry, we have the lift first.
The lift first, kicking it things off. Then you're going to build up a bunch of residual fatigue in the midline, and of course the shoulders up there. Okay, Now I'm getting a look at it. Thank you, sir. And then we kick off day 2, and that's when we're going to get legless with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get back being able to show those legs, changing direction ability, work on that pivot.
Yeah.
We're going to reference now, for those of you that don't know, Dallin was on the football field his senior year, strapped it back up, got out there. We're going to reference the football days. And then, event 4 rounds. This is where you were talking about the runner, right? So 400-meter true form, 30 wall balls, 20 chest to bar, 80-foot tank push, 10 sandbag to shoulder, and then 80-foot tank push. Oh my, 4 rounds.
Yeah, it's a
daddy, I like it.
It's a workout.
I like that workout though, man. I really do. What's the time cap? Did they hit you with one?
25
25.
minutes.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a workout. That's
Yeah.
a lot of work capacity right there, which
Yeah.
again I like. Okay, and then event 5, we've got a 2K Echo bike, which is different, right? Playing with distance instead of the calories. I like
Mm-hmm.
30 toes to bar. Okay, been hitting that as a training stimulus. Here we go. 50 alternating dumbbell snatch. I like that. 70, 50, 30 toes to bar again, then 20 burpee box get overs. High ones. That's a good look.
Mm-hmm.
48 and 40. Cool. What do you like? What do you like that workout? I know you like
Yeah,
them all. You said they're all good for you. Man,
this is a good one.
I like that chipper. Yeah, I like that a lot. I like the stimulus there. And then the finale.
This is an incredible workout. Incredibly well programmed.
Turbo tunnel, folks. It's 18 ring muscle ups, 15 front squats at 205, 145, 45 foot front rack lunge. I'm assuming you do that right after the front squats with the 205, 145. And it has to be unbroken.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I'm always thinking about things in football language. So that's 15 yards. And then we've got 12 bar muscle ups, then 9 shoulder overhead, 165, 115, and then another 45 overhead walking lunge this time. So you go shoulder overhead, 165, 115, keep it overhead, bang, we're lunging. Oh,
Yep.
I love it. Oh, that's going to be sexy to watch right there. That's the kind I like that. I'm here for that kind of workout.
Yes. And I keep talking about the floor plan, but I'm like, I love it as an athlete too. I believe they will have a second rig in the middle of the floor. So you will lunge to
No
another
way.
rig. This is what at least the flow looks like that. You'll
Sure.
lunge to another rig, do the bar muscle ups, and then lunge to the finish on a separate barbell.
I'll tell you what, if they have 2 rigs at a semi, that's taking it next level. So that is going to be an awesome experience for you guys. That's going to be a great layout, whether it's out there all weekend or even just for the, specifically for event 6. That's going to be amazing. But that's cool, man. Is there any one event that gets you going, man, get your heart rate up and you're like, okay, let's go? Aside from the lift.
Probably.
I know what you think about the lift.
The dumbbell snatch one's pretty dang good. I like that one.
Well, you know what I like most, even about you saying that, is there's toes to bar in there, and you were like, "Cool, I'm working on toes to bar. Let's get it."
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
all
I know
the gymnastics.
all the gymnastics, man. Handstand push-ups, handstand walk. I love it. Well, dude, there's one more thing. Of course, we haven't really even touched on, but you're married now, man. How's married life, and how has that transformed things for you as a young man?
It's unbelievable. It's awesome. I could not do it without Corinne. She's literally like my teammate in this. We look at it as like we moved out here because our number one goal together is to get to the CrossFit Games. And she does everything she can to help me. It's unbelievable. I owe her the world, and it's definitely like changed perspective in a lot of different ways. And yeah, like we've grown a lot together, and as individuals, and moving out here away from family has amplified that, and has been probably the best decision we could have made. So
That's good for you guys, man, and I love it. You're young, you're learning life together. That's got to be exciting. I'm pumped for you guys. It's awesome to have a partner that supports your dreams the way that she's doing you, and I'm sure you're equally giving it back to her the best that you can as well. So it's cool to see you guys on this journey together, man. I know. Listen, you want nothing more than to punch that ticket to the CrossFit Games this year, and you know that I'm rooting for you over here. Dan and I will be rooting for you over here at Rise and Pod. Anything else that you want to leave us with, man? Your mindset is dialed in, your preparation is ready, you're excited about the events. I can't wait to watch you take the floor, dude.
yeah, I mean, let's go put on a show and punch a ticket.
And that's what I know that you'll do, man, is put on a show. Well, I'll tell you what, brother, best of luck to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to respect your time and get you in bed, man, tucked in nice and tight and ready to recover. Listen, yeah, you got another heavy day of training tomorrow, but we are going to be doing some spectating. In fact, I think when we're recording this, Tutorium Pro's kicking off, we got some really cool, exciting things to watch this weekend. So we'll all follow along. Dallin, thanks again, brother. And we'll be in touch. And I want to have you on again as we enter the summer months, because we'll be prepping for something even cooler. So we'll have you on then.
Okay, sweet.
Peace.